Okay, so asking ourselves in the arithmetic, we already were told it's arithmetic, so every time what's happening? There's a common add to, right? So when we talk about that in a formula sense, that's called the D in the formula, that difference. Okay, this formula, when I look at it, this means the first term, check, I know that, I know the first term. This means the nth term, the last term, check, I know the last term, divide by 2, times the number of terms. I don't know the number of terms. Okay, so, I don't think I put this on the top of this paper. You have this on your formula sheet. Do you have your formula sheet by you, by any chance? A bright yellow one? So these are all your formulas on your formula sheet. Okay, on our bright yellow paper. So this formula right here is the N formula. So I can write it at the top of this paper here. This formula is the number of terms. That's what it will get us. Okay, so this is what we have to know before we do the sum. So when you do these sum questions, you often have to do 2 different formulas. Okay, ready? How many terms are there? So the last term, Tn, is the last term. So 100 minus term 1, so the first term is 2, divided by the difference. So what were we doing in the pattern? What was going on? Every time we were adding 2, and then I have to plus 1 that. So if you're planning to type this in your calculator, this is going to go badly for you. Why is that going to go bad? Because I have to do that. Okay, do you understand why brackets would have to be on that? Because otherwise, if I didn't have brackets, it would have just done a 2 divided by 2 because of the order. So 100 minus 2 in a bracket or an equals divided by 2 and then plus 1. Can you try that type and see if you can get that number? I got a 50, and see if you can get that on your calculator. I often see this on a test where the answer for this they're giving me is like 36.2 or something. Do you understand that this would have to be a whole number? You can't have like 35.5 terms, right? This has to be a whole number. Okay, now I'm ready to find the sum. Okay, so the sum of those 50 terms, the sum of the 50 terms equals the first term, so 2, plus the last term, 100, divided by 2, times n, which is the number of terms, which is 50. Okay, so can you practice typing that in? Because I want to see you type it and check your answer here that I have. Did you type it in properly so that it does the order properly for you? And again, that 2 plus 100, you're going to either have to push equals before you divide or bracket it before you divide. But that's the important thing. And if somebody's not working out, give me a wave and then I'll come see what you're typing.
I'm just seeing Kevin.
Oh, okay. Anybody want me to come see if what's causing any problems on their calculator? It's giving you something different? Okay, I'm just going to look at what you're typing, so when I come here and show you what you've been typing. Okay, I want to see what you were typing. Oh, see, you have to have a bracket after the 100. If you want 2 plus 100. Ready? And then divide it by 2. Bracket 2 plus 100. Bracket. Okay. Now you can divide that by 2. Okay. Divide by 2. Equals. Push equals and then times by 2. Okay? That should work. Okay, next one. Find the sum of the first 41 terms. So when I think about this formula, I'm going to do sum 41. There's my formula. The first term, that's 4, plus the last term. Do I know what the last term is? Nope. Divided by 2 times the number of terms. So I don't know the last term. Okay, guess what we did all last week? Term n equals term 1 plus n minus 1d. Remember that formula from last week? Because last week I just asked you, can you find the 41st term in this? That's what we did last week. So let's find the 41st term. So term 41 equals the first term, 4, plus 41 terms minus 1, times the difference. So I guess we haven't figured that out yet. What's going on? Every time, what are we doing? What are we jumping up by? We're going up by 5. Up by 5. So that's our difference. Okay, so order of operations 40. Brackets is 40. Order of operations multiply. So that is 200. So 204 is the last term. If I was to go up to 41 terms, that term would be 204, and that's the end of where I want to be. Okay, so can you type that in now? Let's see, you try typing it in with the proper order of stuff, and let's see if we can get something to match. 4264. Match. 4264. The matching. Okay, last one. 4264? Match? Okay. Okay, so we noticed that we always have to do two formulas to do this. So this time, let's just think before, are we missing the number of terms or are we missing the last term? That's usually, you're either missing this or this. Before you start the sum, you're either missing one of those. So in this case, I don't know how many terms. This is the end of the sequence. This is the last term. So I don't know, is it the 10th term, 11th? I don't know. So n equals, and here's your formula. You have these on your sheet again. There's your formula. Okay, so the n, term n is the last term minus the first term over the difference. What's the pattern going on? What's happening every time? Positive 3. I'm going up 3. Okay, so how many terms are in this sequence? Okay, type the formula in there and see if you can get 112 when you do your typing on your calculator. So again, 341 minus 8 either has to be bracketed or equals before you divide it by 3. Okay, so now we can go sum. So sum of 112 terms. If we were to add up 112 terms in this thing, we would get the first term plus the last term over 2 times n. So you have that on your sheet. So the first term, 8, plus the last term, 341. I'm going to average it. And then I'm going to times it by 112 terms. Are you getting 19,000? Okay. Do you want, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna show you a very simple one to just show you like what is this formula really doing. So let's just say I just did this formula. Do you understand that if I want to do the sum of these 6 terms, do you understand what it's doing is just saying what's 4 plus 7 plus 10 plus 13 plus 16 plus 19? Like that's what this formula is calculating for us. We're adding all these numbers up. And why is it taking the first term plus the last term and averaging them? Because that adds up to 23, that adds up to 23, that adds up to 23. Okay, so that's kind of what it's doing. It's averaging that. So if you average it, you're eventually going to include all of the numbers. So that's just kind of what the formula is doing, making it easier for you.